car mechanic. They are working in it practically. I know some of them in here in Tanjung Pinang, Indonesia. They are working as a mechanic, so they are really good in it. I think they are, if they got there, they already got a job because uh, they are doing it like since now it's 1 year that they are doing the mechanic job. So every job has a community, and you can go in that community and ask for voluntary jobs. You can do it voluntarily and get experience. The most important is the experience that you can get out of it. It doesn't matter you're gonna get money or not, if they are giving you salary or not. So think as it is a opportunity that it's not gonna come back. So if you got the experience, there is nothing better than that, I think.
Right.
Everywhere you go, it will be with you.
You're right. I just wanted to tell you, somebody you know named Kelly reminded me I should be taping this. So I just started recording this. I forgot to do that. So I am recording this in case people miss this meeting and want to watch it later. Just to summarize for those who did miss the beginning part of this session,
Yeah.
Reza was telling his story of how he found sponsorship, which is the topic of this chat. And in his case, he was working on a film and reached out to a Canadian filmmaker and asked for advice on the film without any thought of private sponsorship. But they developed a relationship until finally they both kind of realized together, oh, I can actually bring you to Canada through a sponsor team, which is happening now. But the main idea is Reza didn't go straight to Canadians and say, help me, sponsor me, sponsor me. Because I can tell you as a Canadian, we get messages. I get maybe 15 messages like that every morning. I wake up and there's 15 kind of, please help me, sponsor me now. The reason why that doesn't work is, number one, we're only allowed to sponsor 5 people at a time, or 5 cases. And I'm at 5. Number two, that kind of, help me now kind of thing, it's kind of, you don't know how to respond to that because, like, I don't know you, and Canadians who you're reaching out to, they don't know you either. So chances are they're just going to say, oh, that sounds so terrible, but I have to go to work, so I'll just ignore it, right? A better way is to show your value. Show your value as in, a Canadian doesn't want to just sponsor somebody because they are helpless. They want to help somebody who's helping themselves because it's, I don't know, it's just human nature. So in Reza's case, he was already making films, writing scripts, and so on. And he reached out to somebody who was in the same kind of business so they could talk about that. They didn't talk about my life is sad. The conversation started with, you're a filmmaker, I'm a filmmaker. Let's talk about that. That is the better way to do it. So if you have a skill, like if you're a teacher of English, you could work at one of those refugee-led schools. You can reach out to other teachers. If you're doing karate, reach out to people doing karate. If you're, there's 100 things you can do and develop yourself. And that is a much better way of connecting with Canadians because now you have something in common, right? So for the reasons of private sponsorship, it's really important to use your time now when really nothing is happening to make something happen for yourself. It's good for private sponsorship. And also, as Reza was just saying, it's good for your future because you need English in Canada. You need very good English. So study the GED, which is an English kind of certificate. You also need to work here when you get here. So you need to, if you are into filmmaking, that can be your job when you get here. If you are into being a mechanic, that can be your job when you get here. You could be a physical trainer. You could be a nutritionist. You could be an English teacher. You could be 100 different things, but you need to start on that now. So I guess those are the 2 reasons is if you have a talent and a skill that allows you to connect with Canadians who have that talent and skill, It also is good for your future. If you were to come to Canada, you need these skills and abilities. And then a third reason, and Reza, I'll let you speak to this, is it's very hard emotionally to be doing nothing for 7 years. I mean, I'm told this by people every day. It's very depressing. Some people, think maybe suicide is the only way out. It's not the only way out. So for your own sort of spirit, you need to keep busy and feeling like you're making progress, right? So if you are taking online courses on a subject you care about, then that gives you something to do. You can say from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. every day, I'm taking that course. And I don't know what's going to come out of it, but that's how I'm spending my time. That gives you a feeling of accomplishment. It gives something to do with your day. So you're not just lying around on the internet feeling depressed. You're doing something every day. So that's, I guess, the third reason to keep yourself busy is it's good for your mind, your spirit, your heart. And it keeps you away from that kind of feeling of depression that nothing is happening. Sorry for the long lecture, but that was
That
my
was the truth,
summary.
actually.
Yeah. So Reza, I think some of we were mentioning how everybody in this room probably speaks Dari/Farsi, and most people speak English, but I don't know. Do you want to give a little translation in Dari just for those whose English is maybe not amazing yet? And I'm going to get a coffee while you do that.
Okay. بچه ها همهشون خبرین ما کسیم مبارک هستم مرا میشناسه و خیلی بچه های دیگر رایان مرا میشناسه. ما کسیم در 7 سال میشه که اینجا در اندونزی هستم از سال 2014. خلاصه مو همه مو کسی در کلگی مو کسی در یک لیوالی در یک جایی در یک کشتی سواریم. خلاصه اسپانسرشیپ پیدا کردن خیلی گرایه، ولی مثلا اگر همونطور که استفان میگفت ما باید دمو چیزی دمو هدفی که داریم بچسبیم و این مطمئن باشیم که یک کانادایی نمایه مثلا یک آدمی که مثلا بیکار است، یک آدمی که هیچ فعالیتی نمونه اسپانسر کنه او را. Thank you مبارک شد. Thank you bro. و اگر ما مثلا بیکار نباشیم و همیشه دنبال یک چیزی باشیم، فعالیت کنیم و همیشه مثبت در زندگی نگاه کنیم، یک کانادایی یا یک استرالیایی یا یک مثلا نیوزلندی هر جای باشه، خلاصه مفهمه که این آدم کسی بلده جامعه از ما مفهمه که این فردا که باید، چون یک سال زمانت از مرمونه واقعا کار سختیه بلده کسی که نمیشناسه، یک سال زمانت از مرمونه. خب برای ازی هیچ کس مثلا تو نمیگه فردا ممکن داره باید وبال گردن از ما شونه، وبال گردن دولت شونه و یک آدم بیکاره را هیچ کس هیچ وقت اسپانسر نمونه. اگر مو این منجی البته اینا مور نمیشناسه، خب از بچهای از مو هر کسی که مثلا اینجا بوره دنبال زندگی خمره، دنبال کار خمره و مطمئنم هر کس که باشه از بچه از مو جامعه از مو فرق مونه، هر کس واقعا سخت کوشه به جامعه از مو و اینا کس رقم فکر نه چون درک زیاد از جامعه از مو نداره. پس کسی را که واقعا فعالیت نه، کسی که واقعا منفی در زندگی نگانه، همیشه مثلا در خودکشی و مثلا چیزا فکر نه، واقعا اسپانسر نمونه. من خود مثلا 2016 مثلا قبل از ما گپ میزنم، خیلی مثلا دوستای زیادی دارم مثلا در هر شهری که بیک هست، در تورنتو هست، همه جا هست گپ میزنم و باور که اگر مثلا یک ذره بینگنه که تو مثلا منفی فکر مونی، فعالیت نمونی، اسپانسر نمونه. خلاصه اسپانسر پیدا کردن سخته، یک راه خیلی بسیار طولانیه که مثلا اگر بخوای یک نفر اسپانسر پیدا کنه باید خیلی تحمل داشته باشه. این رقم نیه که آقا ما یک نفر قچن و سوا برم بگم که آقا مرا اسپانسر کن. این اصلا اتفاق نمیفته بلدن، چون تو آسان نیه دیگه. تو در جا قد یک نفر کسان نمیشناسی چت منی فردایش میگم برای اسپانسر کن. درست وضعیت از ما واقعا خیلی بده اینجا. حتی در چند روز پیش خبر شده باشین یک از دوستای نزدیک از ما خود از ما اینجا خودکشی کرده، ولی خود چاره چیه دیگه و تقصیر از اینا هم نیه دیگه. اینا تنها کاری که میتونه ما اعتماد زر جلب کنه و ما رو اسپانسر کنه. به نظر از ما بهترین راهش اینه که آدم خود مشغول نگاه کنه، حداقل از استرس و از از سختی یک لحظه آدم از یاد چی میره به خدا. I think that's all, Mr. Stefan. I already explained a little bit, but I'm sure all of them, they know much, much more than me and better than me. So I just talk about my experience. I
Well,
don't think.
thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
So, one thing we said we would talk about on this call was private sponsorship and what it's about. Um, I guess I could provide a bit of background on that. So I think the reason why we're seeing so many of you kind of reaching out to us is this is something you know already. You are kind of under, if you're in Malaysia and Indonesia, you are officially being managed by the UNHCR. I mean, they are officially supposed to be taking care of you. But I think about 2 years ago, the UNHCR made an announcement for political reasons, I don't know, that, hey, guess what? We're not resettling you, except for maybe in 20 years if you're lucky. So I would suspect that was an Australia was pressuring them to say that because they want to keep you there. They want to keep you there. It's kind of like a prison. Keep you in the prison, and therefore nobody will try to get to Australia. But this is, I'm just a volunteer. This is unofficial information. The fact that the UNHCR said that means that they are under political pressure. It also means that that position can change. So if the government in Australia changed and became less racist, then it's possible that the UNHCR would change their policy too and start sending you guys to a third country, which is what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be sending you out of Indonesia and Malaysia to another place where you can start a life, right? Mm-hmm. So I would say that you're not stuck there forever. If the government in Australia changes or the UNHCR changes its policies, which happens, as we know, they could start sending you to Europe, to New Zealand, to even Australia, who knows? But in the meantime, you're stuck, right? The UNHCR does occasionally send people to other countries, but it's usually a family, not single men, not single people. Usually the family, there's a big medical challenge in the family that would qualify you to be sent to a place like Canada. But otherwise, if you're a single guy, you're probably stuck until the policies change, but the policies may change, right? However, as a Canadian, I can't just wait for the UNHCR to change its policy and watch people sit there doing nothing for months and months and years. So as a volunteer, I try to get people to come to Canada through private sponsorship. The one problem with that is it's a lot of work. Like, it's not easy. For each person we sponsor, we need to find $17,000 Canadian, basically. We also need to find 5 to 7 people who live in the same community who agree. They actually sign forms to say, I agree to help this person come to Canada. And when they come here, I will help them for the first year they are in Canada. And that means, you know, finding them an apartment and furniture, getting them to the bank, getting them their ID. It's a lot of responsibility. And Canadians, they know about private sponsorship, but most don't know very much. And most are a little bit scared. They think, oh, you know, am I going to lose all my money? If the person gets in trouble with the police, is it going to be my problem? So my job as somebody who has been doing private sponsorship for years is to tell people how to do it and why they should do it and how it's the most wonderful thing they'll probably do in their lives, except maybe get married and have children. It's really great. But people need to be helped. So I'm actually not sponsoring most people. I think I've been on maybe 3 sponsorship or 5 sponsorship applications over 5 years by now. But I try to help other sponsor teams, and I help them with their applications, and I help them teach them how to do all this stuff, and often send in the application to make sure it's perfect at the end. But I am not sponsoring people. So that's something I wanted to clear up. If you're coming to me to say, Stephen, what can you sponsor me, or can Northern Lights sponsor me? The answer is no. I'm at my limit. Northern Lights cannot sponsor anybody yet. It's a new organization. And one fun thing about Northern Lights that you should know is really there's two people. I mean, there's more than two people, but there's two main people on Northern Lights, me and another guy who's Rohingyan who just got his permanent residence card in Canada last week. So he is a refugee himself who just got PR. We are the two main people. And then there's other people like Mojgan, who I see in this call, that we kind of volunteer with. But there is no actual organization. It's just me and a refugee who's kind of new to Canada. That's what Northern Lights is. So Northern Lights is like fake in a way. It's just a bunch of volunteers who are trying to do what I'm doing, which is like make private sponsorship happen. But we ourselves often cannot be your sponsor. It's like Mojgan, who is on this call. She's not even in Canada, but she's part of Northern Lights. She's a refugee in, outside of Canada. So just be aware that that's what you're dealing with. There's no, and that's what private sponsorship is, to be honest. There's usually no organization. It's just ordinary people who care. So when you're coming to me or to other Canadians, remember that they are just ordinary people. They have jobs that are unrelated to private sponsorship, which is why when you approach Canadians, it's usually better to come not as a please help me kind of conversation, but to come at them as like equals, right? And so in the case of Reza, he reached out to a Canadian filmmaker. Did he do it to say, help me? No, he did it to say, I'm a filmmaker, you're a filmmaker. Let's talk as filmmakers. So you need to bring yourself up to a level where when you're talking to a Canadian, you're not talking to them as a victim or a sad person. You're talking to them as from peer to peer, equal to equal. And you can only do that if you build yourself up and grow your skills and develop your confidence. And that can be from filmmaking, from teaching English, learning English. There's many online courses out there that you can take for free. There's Khan Academy. There is edX. There's Coursera. There's ones developed just for refugees. There's 100 different free courses. You should take those and discover what you like and develop yourself. And then that will help you reach out to Canadian sponsors. And it will also help build the future, because your future is now. You might be coming to Canada next year. You might be going to Europe in 2 years. But whatever you do now will help you for that. So don't wait. Don't sit around being depressed watching like YouTube videos or the news or something awful. Work on yourself now and build yourself now. Does that make sense to you, Reza? I just talked a long time.
No, that's actually very, very good advice. Actually, people like you is very rare. Like, as I told you already, I didn't talk to you so much. We just knew. I I knew you by Kelly Kylie, by my friend. So it's really, really important to us that some people from the other side of the world putting time on refugees, helping refugees. They are the true hero, really. We don't need superhero from Marvel. It's you people are our life superheroes, really. As
Thank you. But I just want to interrupt. You guys are actually the heroes here, because in Canada we have a lot of gifts. We have the ability to, a government that cares. We have a good healthcare plan. We have human rights. We have the ability to go to school and go to work, and you don't. So if you are alive, you got out of Afghanistan alive, that's number one, a heroic thing. The story to survive, unbelievable, and stuff that as Canadians we will never have to face. So you're alive. That is just the fact that you're alive in a different country, you got out, despite, everything you faced. That's as heroic as can be imagined, right? And
Yeah.
now you have a new battle, which is you're in a place where you're not allowed to work, et cetera, legally, for most people. You are not allowed to do many things, and yet you're staying alive. You're not committing suicide. You're staying strong. That is a kind of battle of the spirit. So first you had the battle of what you were facing at home, battle as in people were trying to kill you, and you had to get out, and you made it to Indonesia or Malaysia. And so that is a huge heroic effort. And now you've had probably 7 or 8 years of the internal battle of trying to stay strong when nothing is happening and it feels like there's no hope. So that is another very heroic battle. And these are things Canadians will never have to face. So yes, we're heroes, but not really. You are heroes. So you have to remember that. You guys are the fact that you're on this call means that you've been through so much and you faced it and you've overcome it. So let's just remember that. Yeah, before you sort of start feeling depressed about yourselves, let's just remember how much you've been through already. And that's just good advice in general. I tell people that before they go to a job interview is, say you're going into an interview and you feel like, oh, I'm not going to get this, I'm a loser. Think of all the times you had to face a big, big struggle and you did it, right?
Yeah.
So you got out of your country, or people were after you to kill you or your father, and you got out of it and you survived, and you did it because you were smart and you worked hard and you were, you had strength. Every time you faced a problem, you got through it. And the reason I know that is because you're on this call. So use that to bring up your spirits whenever you're feeling like you can't do anything. You've been through worse. So this is another one. This is another struggle. Oh, I've got a package anyway. So yeah, that's all I'm saying. It's 11:43. Which means it should be Q&A time. Q&A means if you have a question, please turn on your camera so I can see you, because a lot of you have cameras off, and wave your hand to say you want to speak. It can be a question, it can be a comment. I see Mubarak Shah, I see Ahmed Fayazi, I see a lot of people I know on this call. If I know you or if I don't know you, wave your hand to make a comment, have a question. I'll wait to see a hand. No hands. Let me check the other screen.
For no hand.
No hand. No one has questions. Come on. Hands, hands, hands. Okay, I'm gonna randomly choose somebody to talk, and that's Mubarak Shah. Ask to unmute. Let me unmute you. I'm gonna do this to you because I know you. Mubarak, what are your thoughts on what you just heard right now?
Yeah, hello everyone, especially Stefan Watt. Actually, first of all, I would like to have a special thanks to you for organizing such a wonderful and such a helpful meeting, and for I would like to thank for all those things that you are doing for refugees, especially in Indonesia, especially for the Hazaras that I know you know better. I cannot forget, and we will not forget what you are doing for every one of us. That especially tonight's meeting, really, for those of our friends that they have no information about sponsorship to Canada, as our brother Rido explained, and also Stefan, you have been explained that you are not in an organization, Northern Lights are not an organization. You're just ordinary people. They just help refugees in Indonesia, that give information that what they are going to do to have connection with Canadian people, how we can connect with them, and what we have to do to find a sponsor. Yeah, I don't have any question. Just I'm so grateful and thankful to you and those our friends and those who are helping. And we need to be more active. All the refugees, those who are in Indonesia, need to be more active to show their ability, their value to around not only in Canada, around the world, that we are uh, not what we can call, we are not a tourist or something like that. We are victim, but we are also helpful. We have the abilities, we have the skills. If we came to your country, we will make a better future and we will can help the other. One thing that I would like to share, it was in 2018, I became friend with Stefan Watt. Why? I just saw in Facebook that he was helping with refugees and going out and picking and hanging out with refugees, with newcomer in Canada, especially sometimes pick up refugees from airport, the newcomers, and finding a place, apartment, and something like that. And just I send friend request because of helping the refugees. Then I just said, thank you, sir, for accepting my friend request. Then I did nothing until 2019. Then I tried to have more connection with the other Canadian friends, but I found a lot of friends in Canada, in Australia, and around the world. Finally, one of my friends, she has connected me with Stefan, and that after she connected me with Stefan, then I share my life story, and then finally, one amazing thing, it is a miracle for me. It is a miracle, honestly, for me. The person that I have not know before, just a week, I have become friend with him. His name is George, and he was the really amazing person. Stefan would also know. After a week, when I talk with him, and when I said, yeah, I am a person that would be useful for your country. I can do those things. Then finally, he paid all the money for my sponsorship. Wow, it's amazing. It's unbelievable. If guys just think, $70,000, the person that he doesn't know, just for a week, once or twice we just talked, and finally he paid all the money for my sponsorship. That is a miracle. Honestly, that's a miracle for me. I will never forget those things. That finally everything is going well, and by the help of Stefan Watt and those other Canadian friends. Yeah, thank you all, and I will not take your time. It's, thank you everyone. Sorry for the long.
One thing I wanted to point out about your story is you did get this sort of amazing gift, which basically never happens. Like it's very unusual. A stranger will say, "Oh, here's $18,000." Like it has never happened. It happened once. It happened to you. So that's important to know. Typically, it can take a long time to raise that money. So you need to have, in Canadian private sponsorship, you need to have like $17,000-$18,000 Canadian in the bank before we even apply, because the government wants to know there's money for you to live on when you get here. So that is one big challenge. In your case, it wasn't a challenge, but something else, it's usually a challenge, but something else that I think is important about your story is you did find a sponsor team. I don't think I am not your sponsor, which is typical. So I submitted your application, but I am not your sponsor. I know your sponsors, but I'm not your sponsor. But something else that happened was, in some ways it went very fast, but then what just happened over the past year, right? Nothing. They lost your file, right? So one thing that is important to know is we submitted Mubarak's application in March, and they lost it for a year, and probably because of COVID. We were sending emails, messages, something. Finally, they said, "Oh, yeah, we have it. Here's your new G number." So that's a year that was lost. That doesn't happen either. Usually they don't lose applications. It's unusual. probably a COVID problem. But one good thing to know there is your application is back on track. But we just had a year where that's gone. Nothing happened because of Canadian immigration, because of COVID, lost your application for a year. So one thing I wanted to point out about that is this is a slow process, right? So it can take months to raise the money.
Yes.
In your case, it was fast, but it's usually slow. It can take months to fill out the application forms. And even with yours, you know, there was a police check that was out of date. We had to submit a game. So even though we submitted in March 2020, there were many months of delay before that as well. And that is typical because it's really hard to submit a perfect application. You need every document imaginable. You need a bank account. You need police check from your sponsors. You need this, you need that. And if there's something wrong, the immigration will send it back to you and say, do it again, which is what happened with you, right? So I wanted to ask you, Mubarak, during all that waiting, like we submitted once, we submitted again, they lost your application for a year. How did you stay strong during that? Because that's a lesson everybody needs to. How do you stay strong when nothing is happening for months and months? How do you do it?
Actually, twice my application has been rejected. Once because of my ID, because of the initial card that has not been submitted with my documents. And the second time because of the police card or the background checkup. Then the third time, more than about a year, it's really a long time. But from the beginning, from the time that I have found a team of sponsors, actually, and the money which is needed. But I told before that the money for my sponsorship that I got it was a miracle. It was so easy. For the rest of my friends, I know they were waiting more than 10 months, 8 months, maybe about a year to rise up for the sponsors. It is really hard. From the time that I found those sponsors and money, actually, I become more hopeful that I try to do my best for the other refugees, give awareness that this is the way. Just please become active, to become connected with the Canadian, with wherever you want to become friends, and be useful, have a positive thinking that this will be end up, it will not be forever. You will move from this hard situation. And I was the one that never think negative, that I said, this is slow, it's not so easy, that when my application has been submitted, the next 2 or 3 months, I have to think that, yeah, I have to move from just Indonesia to Canada. No, I was thinking that it will take time sometimes, because for the first time after 2 months, I got the refusal. Then until the end, when we move out from this country, it's not easy. It takes longer time. And always my advice was for my friends, especially in MacArthur, that I have connected with many other friends, that please always be hopeful and never lose your hope, and the door will be open for every one of us.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you. We've got a few minutes left. Mojgan, who is many things. She's a Persian woman living as a refugee still, but has a private sponsorship. There she is. She's also really, she and I are kind of starting to volunteer together on projects. So she's kind of part of Northern Lights, and I'm hoping to be part of her world. So she's both kind of, you know, still a refugee, but she's also making things happen even as a refugee. She is here, and I just asked her to speak because you might recognize her from her videos on Canadian private sponsorship. So she's a bit of an expert and speaks Farsi, which is like Dari. Do you have anything to say on any of these interesting topics, Majgan?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Stephen, for organizing this. It was just very inspiring to hear everything you said, and I totally agree with that. So I wanted to share a bit of how I came into, knowing about the sponsorship program as well. So I had no idea this program existed. And I was doing my own thing. Like Mubarak was saying, like Reza was saying, I found my passion, started volunteering with other organizations, and then started my own organization, giving legal advice to people, and started on just doing projects and projects to fill up my time. And, being on media a lot, talk to a lot of journalists about refugees and also sharing my personal story and everything. And in 2017, um, a sponsor, a Canadian person, contacted me on Facebook and said, "We want to sponsor Mojgan Marifizadeh. Like, is she willing to?" And it was my organization's face. So I was like, "Oh, this person is just messing with me." I didn't know what this program was. But then I got my Australian friends to talk to this person and be like, "Are you a real person?" And it turned out it was a real person. But then nothing happened. They were like, "Oh, you need this amount of money and you need other people to be on board." And it was a year something later. It was like towards the ends of 2018 that um, we saw nothing is happening. So we were like, okay, so now what do we do? There are other people who are willing to sponsor, but there's no money. I don't know what to do. I can't fundraise. I don't have connections or anything. It's just work connections because, yeah, I'm doing this. It's my job. It's my career. It's everything that I do. It's my purpose. But then my friends in Australia decided to start a fundraiser page for me. And because a lot of people already knew me through my work, the fundraiser went so much smoother. So many other people were willing to donate. And quite soon, like it took a couple of months, my fundraiser goal was complete. And it was like already so awesome that this thing was happening. But there are other members of my family in Indonesia as well. But this was just happening for me. It still didn't happen for them. It's just for me. But it was just really cool. So very similar experience with Reza and with Marek, just through our activities and being present online, it happened. But then I was sharing on the chat too that Reza, you're paving the way for other people. And me too. And I'm sure Mubarak too. So when we have sponsors, we have people in Canada, we are representing the other refugees in Indonesia. And that will help so much more. So like I maxed out my sponsors team and their relatives and their brothers and sisters and their colleagues. I was just like, okay, let's make more groups for people, and just kept introducing other people to them. But again, other refugees who are very active, who are not going to be a burden later in Canada. Everybody has their own skill and talent and passion that they are following. So it's just amazing how what you are doing for yourself and for other people ends up being very, very fruitful, again, for yourself and for other people. So not only now, we're able to help other refugees with sponsorship and with so many other programs, but then it's helping myself as well. And I'm sure it will happen for my family. It didn't go smooth. My application was rejected, not rejected, it was returned because of, although Steven says I'm an expert in this, but my own application was returned, and I paid $3,000 to a lawyer to make sure it's all good. But it was still returned because of one paper that was missing or whatever. And it's been already like 17 months something. It's nothing happened yet because of COVID and things like that. So I know it's a very slow process, but uh, just the only advice I can really give, I mean, you all know it, is first English. I mean, if you have access to internet, you are here today, it means you can learn English. It means you can use online courses. It means you can be present online, and your presence is what is going to make these things happen. It's very different from UNHCR. UNHCR has a humanitarian mandate. Sick people, people with trouble and things like that, will get into their criteria for resettlement. But this sponsorship is people like Stephen being very inspired by the things that we are doing to show that we are just normal human like them, like everybody else, but we happen to be in these kind of circumstances, and we are more than able, to make their country a better place, make their communities brighter. And that is what that's the way to a Canadian heart in my experience, and so many other people. And never once they said no to somebody who had an amazing profile, who just been so busy here doing their passion, doing what they want. Maybe we are not really doing something for ourselves too much. Like I helped so many people. I gave legal advice. I had my hand in so many resettlement applications through UNHCR and through sponsorship and all of that. But I'm still here. My family are still here. They haven't even started anything. But I can do it for other people. And that's awesome. I can connect a refugee from Turkey to someone in Canada. And that is just the power of social media and internet. So just don't lose hope. I am a nobody, but I can do this. You are doing this already. So this just so powerful in my opinion. And it's going to live on. The impact of it is going to live on more. The more people talk about it, the more people, be saved from here and go, the more they can get other people to go. But just I hope that when we all go one day from here, we don't forget that we have 13,000 something other friends here and also in other countries that we need to support. So, we can be a beacon of hope for everybody else.
Amen, as they say in English, in Arabic. Thank you. We're at 12:01, which means we've been here for about an hour, except I was late, so I'll give a few extra minutes. I'm looking at all your cameras in a gallery, which means if you have any questions, thoughts, comments, anything, please do this. Raise your hand. And there we go. Reza, who I thought was the other Reza, but you're Reza Nouri.
Okay. So thank you, Mizgan, and also Mubarak, and also Reza Jafari for explanation. I have one question from Mubarak. I think he said his application rejected twice. One of the reason is he rejected because the UNHCR did not submit their documentation.
That was my fault. I think it was my fault. I think I didn't include his UNHCR card. I think it was me. So that was my fault, I believe. I think
okay.
It was
yeah,
okay.
for example, for example, when a refugee want to submit their application, some of the refugees not interviewed by UNHCR. The UNHCR just gave them a refugee card. Maybe some they are not refugee, they are just asylum seeker. So they need to, for example, share this information with UNHCR, or maybe UNHCR interviewed as a refugee.
Do you want to answer that, Mubarak, or you want me to try? Or
I think Stephen could be better because you understand better than me, than us.
So the one of the big advantages that you have if you're a refugee in Indonesia or Malaysia is you are more likely to have a card stating that you're an official refugee from the United Nations. Now, as Majgan has pointed out, sometimes there's an additional document you need that says that you are a fully registered refugee, not just an asylum seeker. But nonetheless, in Indonesia and Malaysia, you are more likely to have that card. If you're in the Middle East, they haven't given out that card basically since 2017. So I think the reason why we're doing a lot of private sponsorships for people in Malaysia and Indonesia is you have that card, and Canada needs you to have some kind of official refugee status in order to be sponsored by ordinary people like me. There is a way, if you don't have the card, to be sponsored, but it's through a church or a sponsorship agreement holder, and it's very hard to get their attention because they have limits to how many people they can sponsor. But if you have that card, or a paper that says you are officially a refugee, then any 5 Canadians who live in the same community can actually sponsor you. So it's super important. Yep. I'm going to unmute Majgan. Yes.
Add a little bit. So we had people that had sponsors but didn't have refugee status yet. They weren't interviewed. So what we did was we got the sponsor and the refugee together to email UNHCR and tell them, look, we have sponsors, but I need that status. And UNHCR very quickly, within like about 2 months, interviewed them and gave them the refugee status. So that's another way. Yeah,
I have tried that as well. Gareth, who is on this call, we did that for a friend of his in Malaysia. That doesn't work in the Middle East usually. I had one, it did work this week, but usually that doesn't work. However, you guys probably don't need to worry about it because you probably all have that UNHCR card, right?
Yes.
And That's enough. That's enough.
Actually, I wanted to say the last point.
Yeah, please do. Except I think you're frozen. We have internet problems, Reza Jafari. Oh, you're
Sorry.
back. Go ahead. Oh, frozen again.
Mhm.
While we wait for Reza Jafari to unfreeze, Reza Nouri, did that answer your question?
Actually, my internet
Yeah,
is
thank you.
going unstable, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to say the last point. I know, as all of us know, our situation is not really good. The situation that really want is not this. So in general, we have to make friends around the world. It's not about, despite this is being sponsored or something, at least we can get help to raise our voice, get some attention to, in general, for all refugees in Indonesia or anywhere else, in Malaysia or Turkey, everywhere. So I mean, we have to make friends. It's for a sponsor. It will have a very good results in the future. So we're gonna, as you said yesterday, if you're gonna trying for applying a job or something, or searching for a job, you have to make it your job. That's searching for a job, and we have to do like that every day, looking for friends every day, new friends from all over the world. Make this our job. We have to make it our job. From 10 a.m., 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day, we have to search for friends, new friends. Even if it didn't get sponsored, it will help us to raise our voice. I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, if just to explain what Reza is talking about, he and I were discussing the topic before this call. And Khalil, I'm trying to unmute you, so because I see your hand is up. But in the meantime, so Reza and I were talking about the hard work of being a refugee, and in a way, finding sponsors is a little bit like finding a job. And I sometimes meet people who are looking for work in Canada, and I have like two pieces of advice, which are kind of the same for you guys. Number one is, so imagine you're looking for a job. It's kind of like looking for private sponsorship. You wake up every day, you still don't have a job, you apply for jobs, nobody gives you a job. So instead of letting that depress you, look at it as a job to find the job. And in a similar way, look at your job is to build yourself and eventually find private sponsorship. That's your job. Don't even worry about the result. Just say, every day I'm going to put in from this time to this time to either develop myself or reach out to Canadians or both. And that's your job. And don't even worry about whether you get results. You will get results eventually. So you could say from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., I'm just working on myself. I'm taking that course. I'm studying English. I'm learning about photography or archaeology or something. And then I'm also going to put in maybe 1 hour of my day into networking. This is good advice for whether you're in Canada looking for a job or in Indonesia or Malaysia looking for sponsors. Just make it your job to do this every day and stick to the schedule as if it's a real job, like as if your boss is saying, where are you? It's 10 a.m. I need you to start today. Do that. Be your boss. Be a boss and force yourself to stick to a schedule of working on yourself every day. The second reason why, the second piece of advice, which is good for finding work in Canada or good for finding sponsorships in Canada, is networking. Networking is everything in Canada and in North America. In some countries, you get a job because your uncle runs the business. In Canada, that's not usually how it works. You get a job because you've met somebody and they like you and they have some inside information on a job, and you end up getting the job because of that. Now, what is networking? It's what Majgan was just talking about. Networking is doing favors for other people. If you do a favor for somebody, they will remember you, they will like you, and they will feel like they have to pay you back. That is really the essence of networking. Networking is not coming up to a stranger and saying, help me. That doesn't work online and it doesn't work in reality. But if you come up to a stranger and say, hey, I really like, for example, the film you're doing. Can I show you my film, or can I help you make that film? One of the guys on this call right now, his name is Ahmed Fayazi, he built the Northern Lights, or sorry, the Hazara Hope web page of profiles. He built it. He's doing that in his own time. He's a refugee who doesn't have sponsorship yet. He built that page. There's another guy in this call, Zakir Muradi, I see at the bottom. He wrote all those. He edited all those profiles. So that's a favor, and that is networking. So when they come to me and say, hey, I found the sponsor team, can you help me write my application? I'm going to say yes, because they've just helped me a lot for the last bunch of months. That is networking. So in the same way, you know, if you come to a Canadian and you have like a gift to offer, it could be pictures, it could be something, I don't know. It could be like, I don't know, that's up to you. But try to find ways of making yourself useful. In Majgan's case, he's helping fix people's problems all around the world. And that's her favorite. That's maybe why she got sponsored, because she became sort of famous as somebody who's helping lots of other people, right? And now she's on her way to Canada, hopefully. So I'll stop talking. Khalil, you are unmuted if you want to ask a question or make a comment.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Before asking question, I want to thank from you, Stephen Voss, for creating such an opportunity for refugees. Actually, I know all of the refugees are really thankful, and especially me. When I reached you, I can say that you really changed my life and also my family. So we'll never forget this in our entire life. Thank you very much. Just, I think also it's the end of the meeting. Just I have one question about the process. As most of the refugees may contact you about the process, timing process. So, in Canada website, so it's written that it takes 7 months actually for refugees in Indonesia. But now, as I see, most of the refugees who got the group of 5, and they submitted the application about 2 years ago, or sometimes 1.5 years ago. So still they haven't received any update. Meanwhile, some other refugees who, mostly they are sick refugees who have processed by UNHCR. So a few days ago, they traveled, the IM transferred them to Jakarta, and they may travel to Canada in the next few days. Just, but in the website, as we see that the process of the priority sponsorship is much faster than than government support refugees. So that's the main question of the refugees are now about the timing. I know you have also written in the website, but still most of the refugees worry about the interview and about the resettlement. We would be very thankful if you make it a bit clear, especially for refugees in Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Sure. So as far as I understand, the question is about timing. There is a page on the Northern Lights website about timing and how long to wait. If you read that post, you'll see that on the Canadian website about private sponsorship, they say the wait time is 7 or 8 months, which is not true. According to immigration, that wait time that's posted on that website represents 80% of cases. However, I've got a lot of applications in, and nobody has come in the last year because there are no flights coming from anywhere in the world to Canada for privately sponsored refugees. So 7 months is definitely not true. It's at least 12 months because there hasn't been a single flight for privately sponsored refugees since March 2020. So that's key information. I suspect when the flights start again, when Canada allows privately sponsored refugees to fly to Canada again, I suspect it will be maybe September or October, because by that point the vaccine will be out enough that Canada is comfortable bringing people in, and everything, all the IOM workers are back to work and all that stuff. So if you have a application that we submitted like Mubarak Shah, like in 2020, I mean, hopefully by September, October, you might come, but nobody knows. It's COVID. It's a mystery. Yeah. The other question was about government assisted refugees. So there's this whole other program where Canada takes in refugees without any private sponsors and without any fundraising required. That's called government assisted refugees. The timelines for those, I don't know. There are people I could ask, but the reason I don't know is because I have no involvement in that. That's impossible for me to get involved in. It's all handled by the government. And also I don't know because it doesn't happen very often. So there's a guy named Abdullah Sarwari. They brought his family, but typically it's like I mentioned before, it's a family, so mother, father, or mother, children kind of situation. There's usually a medical challenge in the family. So this is the kind of UNHCR way of selecting people. That was what Majgan was saying. UNHCR selects people and presents them to Canada and says, take this family, please. And they do that based on their own selection criteria, which is really like, is this family really vulnerable? Is it a family, and are they really vulnerable? Like, there's no dad in the family, the kid has a medical problem. That's how you get into the government assisted route. And as for the timing of that, I don't know how long that takes. I don't know really much about that. There's people I could ask, but I don't think anybody in this group is eligible for that anyway. So let's not worry about it too much. Or maybe you are, but if you are, then you wouldn't be on this call. Unfortunately. Maybe the UNHCR, like I say, will change their mandate in the coming years and say, you know what, we're going to help other people as well. We're going to try to get some of these single guys out of there. But in the meantime, that's how it works. So that leaves private sponsorship as most people's only option at this moment in time. And the timeline for that is also a mystery, but that mostly because of COVID. When COVID is over, we'll be back to kind of normal timelines. And the normal timelines might be, I would say, more like 12 months. So we apply today and a year later you arrive. That would be more typical. But if you do have questions, check the Northern Lights website. I present like a typical timeline. It's not official information. It's just what I've seen. Having done a number of these applications. It's just kind of an average of what I've seen over the years. So hope that helps. Any other questions? Getting late over in Indonesia. You might all want to go to bed now. Any other questions? Raise your hands if you have any. I'm checking for raised hands. Okay, people are shy. That's fine, and it's late. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I just
Probably.
muted myself.
Yep.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Mushgan. Thank you, Reza, and thank you everyone for organizing these and giving the beneficial information regarding the sponsorship, the private sponsorship. Actually, I would like to ask a question. Let's say I have found the sponsor, the private sponsor, and they're supposed to sponsor me. For that, I need to have the fund. Is it possible for me to go and collect the fund through the let's say Gofundme website, or let's say source, or it should be like, let's say I have some people, person, like let's say friends in here, and they're supposed to help me with the, like let's say, direct donation. They give it to me personally. Will it be accepted, or it's going to be like rejected?
Great question. So there is a page on the Northern Lights resources part of the website, which is called Fundraising FAQs, and the information is there, some of it, but just to spare you the time of having to read that website, you can never touch the money. You as the refugee cannot touch the money at all. It should never get in your bank account. It should never, you cannot touch the money. And the reason is Canada doesn't want refugees paying for their own applications, because if they did, then every rich person out there would say, oh, I'm just going to buy my ticket to Canada right now. So Canada is really, really clear. The refugee cannot pay for their application. They cannot even touch the money in any way. However, if you have a brother, it can even be your brother, as long as your brother isn't applying to come to Canada. Your brother, your sister, your uncle, your friend, anybody else can put up the money. You just can't. GoFundMe is totally fine. Sometimes we have, but it can't be your, like you cannot start the GoFundMe. We sometimes have a mix. So like $3,000 of the money was GoFundMe. The rest was, you know, from person A, B, C, and D. The only thing I would say on that one is you need, when you submit the application, you need to show where every dollar came from. So if you have a GoFundMe, you have to show a picture of the GoFundMe. You have to list everybody who donated to the GoFundMe. You have to show the bank account of the person who started the GoFundMe, and there's the money in the account. And then another screen grab of, this is the wire transfer form that they used to send to the sponsors in Canada, or the bank account that the sponsors set up in Canada. You need every information on every single bit of the money. They want to see the money trail. And that's because they want to make sure you didn't pay for your own application. And they want to make sure the money didn't come from, like, you know, Hezbollah or some group they don't like. So just, if you're getting money sent and raised for you and everything, just make sure the people who are doing that are taking like great screen grabs and scans of every part of those transactions, because you need that on the application. It's for what we call the proof of funds section. And often applications are rejected because it's not clear where the money came from, right? So hopefully that helps answer that question. Get it? Is that good?
Thank you so much. Yes. May I ask another question? Let's say my sister is actually in Australia and she's living with her family in there. It has been like, let's say most like more than 7 or 8 years that she's in there, and she has not gotten her citizenship. And the family, all of the family members have gotten their citizenship, and the only person who is not who has not received her citizenship is my sister. Then is it possible for her to have the, I mean, to do the fundraising, or let's say from our own community, from our own, let's say, people who are living in Australia, and they're supposed to be ready to donate, I mean, to make some donations to my sister online or whatever in person, Is it possible to collect it that way and then show it to the Canadian government in order to, you know, process our, let's say, form or application?
Yes. Yeah.
It's possible.
Fine. Yep. Sister is fine. Just can't be you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And what else? Oh, I mean, all this information is on the Northern Lights website, but I know there's a lot of pages. But take the time to read all those pages, because basically the pages are there because I get the same questions every day over and over. And so every time I hear the same question many times, I'll write a page about that topic so that I don't have to explain it over and over. So most of your questions are probably going to be answered on that page. So or on that website. So take time to read it. But just to spare you some time, the way it works is when we submit an application, one of the documents is a bank account. It shows the bank account that 2 of your sponsors created. It's a secure non-business trust account is what it's called. So 2 of your, say, 5 or 6 or 7 sponsors create a bank account that is for you, ultimately. They control it, but the money is for you to live on when you get here. And we have to show the bank account statement and letter and everything as part of the application when we submit to say, this money has been, this bank account was created by this person's, two of their sponsors. It's got all the money they need as required by Canadian government. And when this person arrives, when the refugee arrives, that money will be transferred to them, and that they will live on that money. So you can collect money in Gofundme or your brother or your sister or whatever, but ultimately it has to be sent either to your sponsors or better, it gets sent straight into the trust account that your sponsors created. And that's the money you live on when you come to Canada. And all the money has to be there before we even submit. So the fundraising has to be completed before we even submit the application. We can't really do half the fundraising.
Thank you. Thank you, Stefan. Just one more question. I'm sorry, for making so many questions in here. I'm having some kind of, confusion. Like, let's say my sister gets the money in person from her friends, and gets like let's say like a donation, she gets it in person. So for that, like, let's say when she's supposed to be transferring the money to Canada, will she need to show the, let's say, history of the donation or what? Because she's going to be getting it in person. So how she's going to be proving it to the Canadian immigration, or let's say government, that she has collected the money through let's say donation?
I would say in that case, I mean, you could show how she got the money, but that's maybe too much information for Canada. I think like it's just good to have one level of information on funding. So you could say, oh, the money went to her and it went from these places, and then she sent it to me. But I would take a tiny bit of a risk and just ignore where she got the money and just say, my sister sent the money, right? I don't think Canada is going to be like, well, how'd she get it? Some of the applications, it's been a brother who works as a bricklayer, right? And he's sending $15,000. We didn't have a problem with that. They didn't say, how did a bricklayer get $15,000? I think they just want to know, they want to see one level of how the money got to where it is. And in your case, just having the sister, you would actually have to show her ID and her information, her phone number and so on. But if you just said she sent the money, I think they'll be like, okay, we know where the money came from her. I don't think they're going to say, well, where did she get it?
Right.
One other thing, and this is like a whole other topic, but Abdullah, if your sister is stuck in Australia and she is on a renewable 6-month exit visa, which is something that Australia has, she might actually be eligible for private sponsorship to Canada. And I know I'm creating work for myself by telling you that, but there's a lot of guys, for example, who were detained offshore Australia on Manus, and we're applying for them right now. And they are actually free in Australia. They're on these exit visas, but we're still applying for them because they have official refugee status from Papua New Guinea because they were on Manus. And they have these exit visas, which show that they have no way of ever living in Australia permanently. So I can talk to you separately on that. But if your sister, if she's lucky enough and she has official refugee status from somewhere and she's on an exit visa, she might actually be eligible, believe it or not, to come to Canada. But I don't want to talk about that now because that's not relevant to anyone but you and I. So that's later on that one.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anyone else? I feel like I saw a hand. Oh, there's Rao. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm going to unmute you because you've got a hand wave. Go ahead and tell us how to pronounce your name.
Its name is Khusro, but my name is Zakia.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and you people are doing an amazing and incredible job. Thank you so much for that. I think although my question would be unrelated to the discussion topic, but at the same time, I'm going to ask this because I'm not clear about this. I hope for a positive answer from you people. You just talked about the sponsorship, that government provide assistance, and also UNHCR is sending their application for resettlement in the countries. So my question is this: like, I'm a refugee in India. I have been accepted, and I found my family and myself on those criteria which UNHCR has for the resettlement. I found myself eligible, and my family as well. But how I can approach to them that send my application to some countries that they are accepting such a families or such a people? How can I approach them?
So you and Mashkan, you might know better than me, because this you know about this stuff. But basically, you have to approach the UNHCR and say, you know, this is my family. We're a family. We are vulnerable, and we have a medical condition, and so on.
Yeah.
Yep. Somebody's chatting.
Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry for interruption. I can give answer. If you are trying to get your file get in the process and you want UNHCR to forward your application, you cannot, because if you try, they are just looking for someone who are the most eligible. So you UNHCR to forward your application to embassy. I think the only way you can do is if you want to apply with private sponsorship, you can apply from there. But if you want to go through UNHCR, UNHCR will choose by its own. They are not selecting as everybody says that I am the most vulnerable, I am eligible for it, but they choose which application should go to embassy. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Yassine. That's another good friend. I would agree with that a little bit. The only exception is I did write a letter for a family who are in the Middle East, and there's like 3 children who are blind. They're Syrian refugees. I wrote a letter on Northern Lights letterhead that said, please help this family, they're vulnerable, blah, blah, blah. And I found out like 2 days ago that their interview with the UNHCR was moved from October to April. I think it's like tomorrow, actually. So that was great. But I've written many of those letters, and usually nothing happens. They're ignored. So I don't know. I could write another one. It takes a lot of work, but I wouldn't have a lot of hope. As Yassine just said, the UNHCR follows their own rules. They don't listen to anybody really. But sometimes if you contact them, and they will have a contact in India, like they have contacts every country. Sometimes you might get lucky. I would say if you do contact them though, write a proper letter that has all the kind of information, like person, first name, last name, as on your UNHCR card, date of birth, country of birth, like make it look official, and have somebody check it to make sure the English is good, like a proper email, and send it to them. And then, you know, sometimes the UNHCR people have WhatsApp numbers, and sometimes they have phone numbers. And so do your research and figure out what that is for India. And I would try everything. I mean, make sure your emails and WhatsApp messages and so on are polite and like have a business tone, so that they feel like you're dealing with, you know, somebody that they actually want to talk to. But try it all, you know, sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you don't. Yeah, I don't know. Mashkan, what do you think? This is kind of something you might know about. Oops, I'm gonna unmute you.
I do receive at least 20 emails a day from refugees in India or asylum seekers in India. Like, what I would say is make sure you do have a refugee status if you are trying to approach private sponsorship. But one thing that refugees they also don't know is that they're like, oh, we have a blue card. Does that mean refugee status or not? If you are sure that you have refugee status, then you won't even need to approach UNHCR. You can just proceed with finding private sponsors and do that. So you don't really need them. Their criteria is not very clear. Their mandate is to protect, not to resettle. So That's why, it doesn't happen unless there are like specific issues that they try to, send these people forward. So I would try it still. I would totally try it. Maybe I can help you write a letter if you want, or Stephen, if you want, I'm making more work for you. I mean, a proper letter on a letterhead would usually have a better response rather than, you just sending an email, because again, hundreds and thousands of people send email to them all the time, right? So maybe that's a better way. But if you have refugee status, I wouldn't put myself through that much headache trying to approach UNHCR, because the benefits of the private sponsorship program are the same as, the way they are trying to send people. So it's not much of a difference. The timeline is quite similar. So it doesn't really worth the headache that much.
Yes, we do have a refugee card. After we got almost 1.5 year back our refugee card. Before that we were asylum. We passed our interview, then we got the refugee card, all the family members. After that, Stephen talked about the communication channels, which is, especially during this lockdown and pandemic which happened here. Still, it's going on, and their offices are all closed. They are not doing any public dealing. They are just doing communication through phones and also through emails. Yeah, we are in contact with through emails. I'm writing letters. I'm not sure about that much. It is official and also proper format. I'm not sure about that, but yes, I do write mails to them. Even I'm sending some documents which is showing that my family situation is not well. I just talked with someone also face to face. They just got some special permission to talk with me because my situation was not well. So then they told me, because nowadays everywhere is closed. There is no traveling. There is so much restriction on travels. Every country is just struggling with their own problems. So we don't know about, but you might be on this category of families who would be eligible for the resident. It was not even told to me directly that if situation get normal, my family would be one of them, but just in a way, she conveyed such a message to me. I don't know exactly that right now or nowadays this process is completely on hold, or no, it is somehow they are working. I am not sure about this also, but they are giving such reasons to us that everywhere is closed, no country is processing the applications nowadays.
Well, it's not fully closed. They're actually doing some parts of the process until things open up and they can actually send those refugees to the third country. So it's not closed. They are doing things online, but it's slower than usual, which is already slow. So it, like what you described, is very, very similar here in Indonesia as well. I would, if I were you, I would try both ways at the same time. I would try to keep contacting UNHCR. Maybe you match the criteria, and I would try to, find this other way through private sponsorship program.
Okay. Thank you so much. I would try to contact with you, dear Mushkan, and also I would try to contact Stephen. And I really need your people. You people helps. I tried so many ways. Because before that I was not aware about. I was not aware about the same program which you people are talking right now. I was just approaching repeatedly UNHCR. So now right now I will try to contact you people, and I hope. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, keep trying. You're doing your best. One thing that Majgan said that is true is that actually government-assisted refugees, there are some still flying into Canada. I know one guy who came a couple months ago. It's just really slow, and COVID really is impacting everything everywhere. So, for example, I've got 2 cases of mine that are stuck, privately sponsored applications, and I've got a lawyer to hopefully work on it, and I don't even know if it's the right time to push, because they could always just say, well, COVID, everything's closed. So I think you just need a little bit of patience. I would say keep trying, obviously, everything you're doing, but you're going to hear the same excuse no matter who you're talking to, which is like, it's COVID, nothing's happening, no one's coming to work. And that's probably going to be true till September or something. In India, it might even take longer because COVID is like out of control there. So, you know, that it just requires even more patience than you would need, and you need a lot of patience for this stuff at the best of times. Any other hands up before we say goodbye and good night for those of you
No hands up
watching?
so far.
Okay, we have a couple hands up. Abdul, ask to unmute. And Reza, apologies if I just cut you off because I can see you're wanting to talk. So I'm just gonna let Abdul talk, let Reza talk. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you so much, everyone, and especially Mr. Stefan Watt. I actually didn't know about this program until I heard from my friends a few days ago, and I don't know how to apply or how to create any profile or something like that. Could you please, Mr. Stefan, little information about this?
Sure. So two of the guys on this call are responsible for those profiles. So what usually happens is when people say, hey, can you help me? You know, I can't, but I do have a website that I can get your profile on. And so usually I say, here's the page. Right now it's on the Hazara website. That's where they're going. And so read the profiles to see the style and then write your own story in that style. I will then share that with your permission with Zakir, who is on this call. Zakir edits them, and then he hands them to Ahmed Fayazi, who is also on this call. And Ahmed puts it on the website, on the webpage with your pictures. And then sometimes I'll go in and just kind of edit a little bit and just make sure they look okay. But basically, it's all being run by other refugees. And the reason is because that is a huge job. Like, I think they must be putting 4 or 5 hours a day doing this. And the fact that they're doing it means I can focus on other things, including submitting applications for people who, you know, have gotten that far. What I would say about the profiles is it doesn't mean, oh, now the organization is now going to sponsor me, because as I mentioned previously, the organization is largely fake. I mean, there is a not-for-profit number and it is registered with the government, but really it's just a couple of volunteers, and most of the volunteers are refugees. So it's not like, oh, now this organization is going to make everything happen for me. That's not how it works. But what I would say is when you do have a profile, use that profile to help find sponsors. Because now, at least, if you ever did talk to a Canadian and they said, oh, sorry, who are you? You can say, oh, here's my life story. So you don't have to tell them. And also having it on a website makes it look like more legitimate. Like you're not just some random person out there. And also because Zakir and Ahmed have done such a great job, it will really look good. It will be like you're wearing a nice suit because the English is good, the story is clear, the pictures are all there. So it just helps a little bit. It's no guarantee you'll get sponsorships, but I have noticed that of the profiles that have been posted, sooner or later, usually those people move into being sponsored. So there's a web page on the Northern Lights website which explains our process. Basically, the process is you come to me, I hand you over to Zakir, Zakir hands you over to Ahmed, Ahmed builds a website. Now you have a web page. Hopefully you use it to find sponsors. Once you have a promise of 5 sponsors and full funding, I usually shift you over to the Northern Lights profiles page. It's like you graduate because now you've got one of those things. You've either got funding in place, we have sponsors in place. Now you're on the Northern Lights website, which makes no difference, to be honest. It's one website or another website, but whatever. And then, you know, hopefully myself or somebody else will start working with you on actually getting the sponsorships done. So putting the documents together, creating the bank account, transferring the money into the bank account, all that business. That is the process. If you want to read about it, there's a website that's called something like Our Process on the Northern Lights Resources page, and it describes that step-by-step process that I just mentioned.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Any other hands? Oh, there's a hand.
Let's see how.
Masiha, whose name I probably just said wrong. Ask to unmute. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for organizing this useful webinar. As you might know, some of us has already written our story and posted on the Hazara Hope, and still they are waiting for 5G or 5 group. But one of them is me, and I don't know how to find a sponsor. Could you give me a clue that how to do it? And maybe it's more than or around 1 year that I am waiting for help for that. Thank you.
That is actually the topic of this. That's the original topic of this call. And I would say that the word you use, which is important, is waiting. Don't wait. Nothing will happen if you wait. Nothing will happen. You have to do something. And you know, the profile is there, but nobody's going to see it unless you bring it to their attention. Now, how you get people's attention is what we were talking about at the beginning of the call, and that is what Reza was talking about. So Reza, I think you're unmuted. What advice would you give to Masiha as somebody who has a profile like or on the Hazara website, but nothing is happening? What advice would you give him?
Actually, as I already told, so it's the most important thing is that you have to be active. You have to show that you are valuable to be sponsored by someone. I think that's the most important. Like you don't have to stay like doing nothing and just waiting. It's just a small step that you can go for the sponsorship program. So you have to promote your story, promote yourself also to everyone you know, to like you have to make friends, so many friends. The finding a sponsor is really gonna take a very long process, because a Canadian not gonna sponsor you like you send as Mr. Sfanolin said, a Canadian not gonna sponsor you by you send a message and tell your story. You're a guy that, okay, for example, I'm gonna sponsor you. How do you expect me to sponsor you if I don't know you? It's very hard actually. Because I already go this way, so I am telling it as my experience. So you have to get to know each other, and also you have to show yourself, show that you are valuable, that someone sponsor you, and also to show yourself that you will be useful for the community, for the country, because every Canadian, every New Zealand people, every Australian, every American value their country. So they are not gonna sponsor someone that they are not useful for their community. So you have to show your ability. I know each one of you has their own ability. So you have to show it. You have to work on it. You have to improve it to the next level. So that's, I think it will gonna work, but it's gonna take a long time. You have to be very patient.
Thank you.
I think.
We have a hand up we have two hands, Abdul and Ali Sharifi. I'll start with Abdul because you're on the top left of my screen. I'm asking to unmute you. There we go. Abdul, go ahead. I still have to ask to unmute you. Ask to unmute. Maybe you have to agree to unmute. So I'll ask to unmute Ali Sharifi. Both you guys are muted. And Ali, looks like you're there.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a bit of an outsider, more of an observer, a researcher than a practitioner or a a refugee. But I'm curious, how often do you see sponsorship? It's follow on from the last question. I'm looking at who is sponsoring whom, and wondering, that trust, that level of trust is so important. And I really understand what is meant when we say it takes a long time to try to find a sponsor. To what extent does it make sense to work with channels of trust that already exist? For example, religion, ideology. Let's say you're a sports person. Why not just network with other sports people who might trust you from that particular context? Do you see patterns? How often is it the case that someone sponsors someone else who already kind of belongs to their in-group?
Yeah, very, very often. Most of the time, if I could speak to that topic. So at the beginning of this call, Reza was pointing out that his lead sponsor is a filmmaker, and he is a filmmaker, and they actually had a relationship as filmmakers for years before they even started thinking about private sponsorship. That is often how it works. There's other people who were managers of refugee schools, and they connected with teachers or people who had been also at that same school as teachers. Sometimes there's a religious connection. So like Pakistani Christians are often sponsored by other Pakistani Christians. Iranian Christians are often sponsored by other Iranian Christians. The only thing I would say about the church thing is churches have a whole other responsibility in that some of them are sponsorship agreement holders who can sponsor people with their refugee status. And those sponsorship agreement holders get like 1,000 messages a day from people asking for help. So usually when it's a religious connection, it's actually not through an official church because they're busy. It's actually through people who have that faith but are not like part of any official organization. So like Iranian Christians, for example, they might just be Iranian Christians, maybe they go to church, but the church isn't sponsoring anybody. It's just people are like, oh, I'm an Iranian Christian, so are you, I care for you, I will, as a private sponsor, help you. That happens quite a bit. Does that answer your
Thanks
question?
a lot. Yeah, that's really interesting. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. And I'm interested because it sounds like you're in Canada from your accent, so I feel like I should talk to you on a separate conversation at some point.
I just wanted to share my ideas about making friends. I think Facebook is a good application for making friends. For example, I personally liked about personal growth, spiritual growth. So I joined a lot of Facebook group. There are a lot of Facebook group you can join and make a lot of friends. So yeah, in any everybody know themselves better. For example, in any topic that you are interested, you can join to Facebook group, and then there you can interact with people in comment. You can share your ideas, your pictures, everything. You can connect with other people, especially people who are living in Canada and Australia. And yeah, you can make friends like that.
Thank you, Yasin. And I hope to see you soon at my house. Any other?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other hands? Ali, your hand is still up, but that might be an old hand. Any other hands, questions? Well, we're at 2 hours. I feel like we've sort of kept everybody awake long enough. What time is it there now, by the way?
It's 11:55.
Oh, not bad. Okay. That's,
Yeah.
okay, so I want to thank everybody for speaking, for answering, for asking. This is very useful. I'm sure people will continue to have questions. One thing I liked about today's session is, you know, the great thing about it is everybody gets to hear the answer, right? This is normally it's all private conversations and one-to-one, but this way we've got like, I don't know, 30 people in this room or something, or 20. So everybody gets to share information, and that is amazing. And the other amazing thing about this is it's not just me providing the information. Like a lot of times you guys know better, like Reza and Mojgan and Yassine and Mubarak and everybody who spoke today. They have insights that I don't have. So I found this really useful personally. And I think we should do it again. Maybe everybody like start thinking of your questions for the next call, maybe in a month or something, and we'll do it again. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end, I would like to thank you, Mr. Isfan. It was really useful for me and for all of us. And what are you doing, guys, in there? It's really heroic for everyone in here.
Yeah.
Heroic action.
You helped a lot just by being here today, Reza. So thank you all. Okay, good call. And if I can figure out how to record, how I recorded this and how I saved the file or something, I'm going to post it as a video. This is all kind of new to me as a warning, so I might have messed this up, but I'm going to try to get a video of this call and share it. So anybody who missed it or wanted to hear again what was said, hopefully I can make that happen. So have a great night, everybody over there in Indonesia, Malaysia, and India.
Have a great day, Mr. Isfan.
Okay, see you.
Yeah.
Bye.